Hey, welcome to this next video. We are here on our server. We're on our domain controller. We've just talked about process accounts. We've just talked about security groups. Now let's look at practically how to manage these and how to actually use them in the real world. Now, we're not going to be talking about how to create a file server. Okay, so this series focuses on Windows Server. We'll focus on Active Directory, group policies, DNS, and DHCP. But if you do want to learn more about file servers and file permissions and things of that nature, there will be future videos that will focus on that outside of this course. So do stay tuned for those. So we're just going to be showing you the very, very basics on how to apply a security group to a file server or to a file structure, directory structure, and then how you would use that particular account, for example. So we're here on our AD, okay? We've already shown you how to create OUs. We've shown you how to create users, security groups, process accounts, computers, etc. I've now gone and defined some further OUs in here. So under the Australia OU, I've got a users OU, and now I've got administrators, which is my IT team, my marketing, and my sales, okay? So I now need to go and allocate these to specific locations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a folder right here. Here is a folder on the C drive called data. Now data is a folder that is going to be shared on the network as a shared folder so that people on my network from any computer in my company, for example, they can access data, and that could be on their computer. It could be like a G drive, or it could be an X drive or an H drive or something like that on their drive, which is mapped to data. And then when they log in and open up their G drive, for example, they will see this, right? That's what they see. But if it's structured and set up correctly, they should only be able to access the areas that are relevant to them. They should not be able to access areas that they should not be able to access. That is not permissible for them. So here's a very good example. If we go back into AD, we've got a salesperson here called Bob Builder. In here, I've got a folder called sales. Now, generally a salesperson will not have access to a finance folder, to HR, to IT. Maybe they'll have access to marketing because they need to get some information from a marketing folder, and they'll of course have access to sales. So we don't want them to be able to double click on IT, double click on HR, double click in finance, which are currently empty, but they shouldn't be able to go and access those particular folders. So when they log in on their computer, what's going to happen is they're going to log in with Bob the Builder, right? AD will then view the member of location and determine what access they will have based on what member groups they're a member of. And of course, those groups need to be allocated against a folder somewhere. In our case, one of these folders. Now, you've already noticed that we don't have a security group or anything created for Bob the Builder or for sales. We've only created one security group called admins. That's it. There is no other security group that we've created. So you've got a couple of options here. We could go into data and you can right click on sales and select properties. And you've got an option here, a little tab called security. It's now going to ask you what groups, what users have got access to this path, the sales folder within this particular file server. At the moment, it's the creator, the owner, the system, administrators, and users. Now, that's a bit problematic. So the users of this already have access. But what we want to do is we want to go into Edit. We're going to select Add. And in here, you now add the user or the security group that needs to get access to sales. And only that particular security group. Now, remember, we've got our user right here, Bob. I can type in Bob, check name. Now remember, this is going to search for home demo, Bob, check name. Here it is, and select OK. What sort of permission do we want him to have? Well, we want him to be able to modify, read, and execute. We don't want him to have full control. Only IT should really do that. And OK. and OK. So now if I go into sales, right click and properties, security, here he is. Bob Builder is listed in here and this is his permission. Okay, that's great, right? But imagine you've got 10, 100, 1,000 staff members in sales. That's going to be problematic. You don't want to add all of those, do you? So let's go and create a security group in here. We're going to say group. I'm going to call it sales team. And within sales team, there's a member called Bob. Okay. So now there's a security group called sales team. Back onto our file server. Okay, let's just cancel out of that. Sales, properties, edit. Bob Builder. We don't need him in here anymore, do we? We can now remove him. Apply. We can now say add, and now we're going to add in SAL, sales team. Okay, we want him to have modify rights and apply. So now the sales team has access to that sales folder. Easy. Okay, so now that particular user, Bob Builder, and anybody else, any of his other colleagues that are in sales will have access to that particular folder. So it's very, very easy to set that up, okay? And that's practically how you would use security groups. Other reasons that you could use security groups would be once a computer is bound to AD, you add specific people who can use that computer and that computer alone. So this is a good example where you have, for example, a hot desk situation. You've got maybe 3 computers and you've got a team of 6 people that need to share those computers. So this user does not have access to their computer and their computer only. They're sharing across these 3 computers. So what you could do is you could create a sales team security group, add your 6 sales team members, users that you've created into there. And then on the computer, once the computers have been bound to AD, you change the permissions on those computers and you say only sales team members have log-on rights to this computer. So that if anybody from the marketing team tries to log into those computers with their username and password, they won't be able to. Only the sales team will be able to because you've added the sales team security group as a log-on user to those computers. Now we're going to look at that slightly a little bit once we look at the next video, which is around joining a computer to AD. But that will only be possible, of course, once we do join a computer to AD. But it's one of the other great reasons why you may want to have security groups. Another purpose, of course, us working in IT, we want servers to only be accessible by administrators. So we've got our admins security group in here. We only want IT specific people to be a member of that. And then you'd add the admin security group to the logon areas or to administrator groups within those servers so that only IT people can log in. Imagine if anybody could log into a server and cause havoc. That would be terrible. So you only restrict access to the people who need access to what they should be having access to.